Well, good morning everybody, and it's lovely to see you again. Today we start a series which is one of those series which can change your life and can change your relationships. One of the things that I've found through the years is that many people have many different difficulties, but the biggest and most worrying thing for most people is not how much money they've got. It's not how ill they are or how well they are. It's not the condition of their home. It's not even the state of their football team. The thing that gives most people most difficulty in their life, in my experience, is their relationships. And this morning we start this series called The Key, when we look at the key to successful relationships, whether it's at work or in your marriage or in your own personal inner conversation. And if you grasp this key and use it consistently in your relationships, I can assure you that you will find that what were difficult relationships, what were seemingly impossible relationships, will become wonderful, and on some occasions wonderful again. If you can use this key at work, with your neighbours, and with your husband or wife or boyfriend or girlfriend, you'll find that your life will be changed. You see, what happens in our relationships is that we seem to be doing fine. There are three areas where I see relationships break down. First of all, there's the area of work. And we love our work and we go to work and we're so happy to be at work. We get on well with most people, but in every workplace there's one person who somehow they seem to have been designed to annoy you. It seems as though their whole makeup is to frustrate you. And you can get to the stage with those people that as soon as the door opens and they walk through it, you feel yourself tense up. Have you had that experience? That person who just you know that as soon as they open their mouth, they're going to say something which will hurt you and make you upset and make you, well, they press all your buttons, don't they? And before long, they have you in a state and you decide to leave that place of work, or you pray that they'll leave it, or you pray that they'll die, and eventually you leave that place of work and you get to another place of work and there's somebody else just like them. Or they leave and someone else becomes that annoying person. It happens at home, in relationships between brother and sister. I've known brothers and sisters who fought and argued for years and years and years. Got to the stage sometimes where they don't even speak to each other. I knew one woman who wouldn't go to her own mother's funeral because she wasn't speaking to her sister who'd arranged it. She stood at the gate of the cemetery and watched from a distance because she couldn't bring herself to speak to that person. If only there was a key that would solve those sort of difficult relationships. It happens between husband and wife. You start off wonderfully in love. You get married or you move in together and you're there and everything seems perfect. And you have such high hopes and ambitions for this relationship. But as you get used to each other, little things begin to niggle away. And then you niggle back, and he niggles back, and she niggles back, and before long, it's a battle zone. I've had couples come into my office and say, David, can you help us? And I say, well, what's brought you here today? And she says, well, he did this. And he says, well, you said that. And she says, yes, but that wasn't till you'd done that. And he says, yes, but you'd already said this. And they go back and back and back, and they tell me, and it's like World War III breaking out in my office. They're just at such loggerheads. And they've reached such an impasse. Sometimes couples get to the point where they feel their marriage is going to break up. And they don't know what to do about it. And if only there was a key that could turn off all the troubles in their relationship and take them back to the wedding day. Take them back to the days of courtship. Take them back and reboot their relationship so they could start again, start afresh. The third area I've seen people have trouble. They have trouble at work, they have trouble in the family. Sometimes I've known people who have trouble in themselves. They're the sort of people who blame themselves. They feel as though something's happened way back in the past. It probably wasn't their fault. And if you were to sit and analyse it with them, they'd say, yes, it wasn't my fault, but I've always blamed myself. I've always said it was my fault for letting that happen, for getting into that situation. Maybe an uncle did something, or a family member said something, and they've always blamed themselves. Maybe they were told it's your fault. You've done this, you brought this on yourself, love. It wasn't their fault at all, but they feel it was. They feel it's their fault. If only there was some way of letting them out of the pressure they've got into. The people with that difficulty, they blame themselves, and their self-esteem and sense of value goes down and down and down and down. And maybe you meet them in their 30s or 40s or 50s, and they're so timid because it's like they've been chained up. It's a bit like at Christmas when you watch Christmas Carol, and you know Marley comes on and he's carrying these big heavy chains and he's been tied up. And all the chains are padlocked together. And in our relationships it can feel like that, can't it? Every incident of our life becomes a link in that chain, and it's padlocked. And if only there was a key that could undo the padlock, that could release us from the chains of anger and bitterness in our relationships.